This is the Floridaville. Get to know the people behind the Florida names you know. I'm your host, Rosanna Catalano. On this episode, we get to know Jared Graybeal, an entrepreneur from the first coast of Florida. Jared owns and operates a meal prep company and a business consulting and marketing agency. He also has a successful podcast and is considered a leader in fitness. We learn how he balances his physical health with his professional responsibilities. We are excited to be recording today's episode on live video stream to the Floridaville page on Facebook and the Floridaville channel on YouTube. I'm in my home office in Tallahassee, Florida, and Jared is speaking with us remotely from his home in Neptune Beach. Welcome to the show, Jared.
Thanks for having me.
It looks like you are well on your way to creating a fitness empire. Can you tell our audience about your meal prep company, SuperFit Foods?
Yeah, thanks for the compliment. SuperFit Foods is a fully customizable, subscription-based meal prep company. We're based out of Northeast Florida, but we ship nationwide and we deliver locally throughout all of Northeast Florida. And we have 24 what we call pickup locations in the Northeast Florida area. So what makes us special is that just sort of dog food and baby food, we literally make it all.
That's fantastic. I noticed on your website you talked about eating clean. Can you explain to our viewers what that is?
Yeah, I guess that's a great question. And I could give you a really long-winded answer, but I'll give you the shorter one. In diet culture, healthy seems black and white, right? Like healthy is a salad or it's not. And so eating clean is really relative to your goals, your lifestyle, and your circumstances based off of things that you might be sensitive or allergic to. Really what it means is creating balance in your life so you can have a high quality of life, but you can also enjoy the food you eat as well.
So how did you get the idea for SuperFit Foods?
Great question. I've spent the last 12 years in the fitness industry. I knew it from 18 years old that I wanted to be really a personal trainer, to be specific. And as I pursued that goal, I got a job doing sales, and then I got promoted to management and then became a GM within a year. And so by the time I was 19, 20 years old, I was a GM of LA Fitness, and I did that for the next 4 years. And I knew that I didn't want to be a part of a large health club chain. I think people are designed for that, but that wasn't for me. I wanted to be a part of people's results. I wanted to have a tangible, make a difference in an organization that I could measure. And I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. So I left that, ended up doing personal training individually, and I was really happy and relatively successful. And as I was training at a Gold's Gym in Lakeland, Florida, where I'm originally from, I met a guy named Frank, and he approached me about opening a gym. And I had previously attempted to do so with, I failed at it. And so that's a whole different story. The investor backed out, kind of a God thing. But so Frank said, well, what about a meal prep company? That seems to be kind of a popular thing in major cities. And this is February of 2015. So I said, I could start that. I'm a nutrition specialist. I was a bodybuilder at the time. I hated cooking, but I loved eating healthy. And I loved watching my clients transform for the ones that decided to change their eating habits. So I knew it was something that we could sell. We started very green, like we didn't know what we were doing at all. And so Frank right away took a position as sort of a silent partner, and I was the active CEO. And that's the inspiration for it. Really is it wasn't my idea. It was Frank, because he saw a business opportunity. And then I pursued it because I saw an opportunity to become fulfilled in a career to help people and make a difference.
What are some of the big changes you've seen in your company in the last, I guess it's 5 years now that you've been in business?
Oh, man. We've seen countless dramatic changes. Again, I didn't have any restaurant experience when we started SuperFit Foods. And in its essence, we're a restaurant on wheels. So I've experienced personally dramatic changes. I've seen so much changes within our team, within our company. We went from cooking in a small commissary kitchen in the outskirts of Lakeland, Florida, and now we have a 4,500 square foot kitchen that we've built out, and we service all over the country. We've got partnerships with people like Amazon and Apple and things like that. So, the changes are countless. I would just say the most dramatic change is been in me being developed as a better leader and in watching our team. Because, I don't get to see the client's results anymore. I'm not a one-on-one trainer anymore. So my main focus is on developing our team, and just being able to watch our team develop and grow over the past 5 years has been incredible. And we have a lot of the same employees. As we've grown, we've retained a lot of the people that we bring on. So that's been probably the thing I've gotten to witness the most.
There are a lot of competitors in this space. How are you all carving out your niche?
So we don't look at like-minded businesses as competitors per se, because our mission is really to feed more people healthy food. So if other people are doing it, kind of like we're on the same team. They may not think that, but given the fact that there's 7 billion people in the world, everybody needs to eat food and they should be eating relatively healthy. We've got a lot of people to go around, so we don't look at it in a scarcity mindset at all. But for being a business person, we still have to be smart, right? And we have to have a competitive advantage and a value proposition. So what makes us different from the like-minded businesses out there is that we're fully customizable. And we're the only people in existence that we know of that can claim that. And what that means is that you can choose to be vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, paleo, keto. You can get small, medium, large size meals. You can say that you want vegan, but you're not a fan of broccoli and you only want it on Thursdays. And you can customize your order around those preferences. Whereas a lot of meal prep and meal kit companies are sort of one size fits all, or they have a limited 8 meal a week menu. And people get burnt out on that. And what happens when people get burnt out on healthy food? They stop eating. They go back to the fast food chains and things like that. So we've created an excuse-free model for people that want to eat healthy for a long period of time.
That's great. I know for myself, I'm gluten-free and dairy-free, so it really creates obstacles when I go out to eat and even cooking at home. I get bored with what I'm cooking.
Yeah, and we make over 150 items, like specific items, and about 110 of them are gluten and dairy-free. So it's what we do. Let us do it. You do the other stuff you like to do in life. You know what I mean?
Excellent. Now, I know you have exhibited at Forbes Under 30, and you also spoke at a TEDx event. What were those experiences like?
A bit surreal. So, TEDx, for example, was a lot of pressure, but super surreal because who doesn't know about TEDx? Very enlightening because I had the opportunity to talk about something that's really important to me, and it's how nutrition affects our mental health. So the toughest public speaking I've ever done, because I had to memorize my script. They did not have a whatever you call it with your script to read off of for a long speech.
Teleprompter, which I wish I had.
Yeah.
Every day.
I wish I had that word just now so I didn't look silly. But a teleprompter, right? We had no teleprompter. TEDx are independently organized, so it was a mess. So that was kind of a lot of fun to be able to be there and to pivot entirely. We changed locations. I mean, it was crazy. But I got to tell a story that, broadcasted across the world. And Forbes was really cool because we got to travel with our team, and our team got the opportunity to see firsthand the impact we're making in the entrepreneur market. Because we know that we're helping a lot of people with their diet, right? Like with eating healthy and living a convenient lifestyle. But to know that we're inspiring other entrepreneurs to be innovative, to question the status quo, that a little company from Central North Florida is getting invited to Forbes Under 30 in Detroit and Boston, shows them, I think, because they're younger than me mostly, that there's a lot of opportunity for whatever their dreams and goals are. So that was probably the best part, is to be able to bring our team along and say, look at what we're doing. People are recognizing this that aren't even eating our food. They're just recognizing us for running a pretty good business.
So I know that startup costs can prevent a lot of entrepreneurs from starting their business and pursuing their dreams. How did you secure your financing to get your food venture off the ground?
So neither of us had restaurant or finance background. It's been, I'm a believer, I'm a Christian. So I think SuperFit Foods is just one big God story for me. Because if it was a gym or anything else like that, I'm sure I would have said that I know everything and I'd figure it out. But SuperFit Foods has been one new learning lesson after the other. And so finance, we've never had an investor. Frank and I in the very beginning put down, I don't know, $500,000 to get flyers and a website made. And then it was a lot of groundwork, meeting with people. I did all the social media. I did all the admin, customer service for the first 2 years. We grew really fast. So we took a lot of unhealthy, high interest bank loans, working capital loans, loans from lenders on Wall Street. For the first 3 years, it was like, oh, we need money tomorrow because our van broke down. So we never had an investor. And for the first 5 years, we never had any healthy debt. So it was all very reactive. We're growing really fast. Let's get some money so we can buy more vans, hire more people, do more marketing. Not what I would recommend at all. So I would recommend, if I were to go back, I would have hired a restaurant consultant and wouldn't have gotten the kitchen that we got in the very beginning. There's a lot of things we would have done differently. So we did not go the traditional route. We did not have that very cool story, early stage one or round one seed investor, anything like that. It was very messy. It was, we weren't making money for a long time. So just a lot different than the traditional approach.
You said you did the marketing and social media for your business for the first 2 years. What advice would you give to business owners that are doing their own marketing?
So what I talk about in small business world is that you don't have the luxury of being a specialist. And what I mean by that is if you get hired on at a company with 30, 40, 50 employees and they need a social media manager and that's all you're good at, like that's okay. But if you want to be a business owner and start from the ground up, you've got to be the social media person. You've got to be the Google person. You've got to be the customer service, admin, all the things, right? And so for any business owner struggling with their marketing, the answer is kind of twofold. If you can afford to hire a professional, do that. That's the easy answer. But if you're a part of a small organization where you are that person, you've got to educate yourself on it. Quit telling yourself that maybe you're too old for this or this isn't your specialty. I think optimism precedes opportunity. So if we can change the frame around, oh, I'm not very creative, to creativity is not black and white, it's relative. And then once you take that, then you start saying, well, if I can create a product that people like, but I feel like I suck at social media, then I just need to start talking about the product and don't talk about myself. You know what I mean? Like, cause really when you start a business, it's not about you anyway. And so but you've got to do something. That's really my recommendation to any small business owners that are struggling with social media or any form of marketing. Doing nothing is way worse than doing some crappy something. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean.
Yeah. And then
all too well.
Bring some people around you that are willing to help, because like I said, in the early stages, I was pretty gifted and good at social media marketing, person to person. I'm great at sales, but I had no idea how to run a restaurant or anything like that. So I had to humble myself and ask all the questions, talk to all the people I could. And that served us well, right? It gave me a lot of humility in managing our kitchen staff, but I had to gain my own level of competence as we grew. And then over time, I was able to hire the right people and bring on the right people to run that part of the organization.
Well, since we've been talking about marketing, tell us about your marketing agency, E3.
Yeah, so E3 was really birthed out of a need and out of a demand and some of my free time. It's a consulting and digital marketing agency. And basically, shortly before I started SuperFit Foods, I did a little bit of consulting for a couple gyms. And then after I started SuperFit, over the next maybe 2 years, I would have either friends or strangers through social media reach out and say, hey, I'd love to buy you coffee and chat about an idea, or hey, I'm struggling with this thing in my business. What would you do? What's your recommendation? So people, I guess, thought that maybe I know a little bit about what I'm doing. And that was really cool, but I only have so much time. And so after getting coffee with somebody once or twice and they say, well, can we meet next week? Then it kind of became, well, maybe I should charge for this. And I love consulting. It's just it's a bigger way for me to help people, much like personal training. And so I thought I need to legitimize my ability to help people as a consultant. And so I started E3, built a website, and that's how I build people. And the digital marketing thing came from an additional need. I would consult small business owners and they would say, well, who do I go for that? And I'm like, I've got the people. I can leverage the people on my team and they can work independently and make some more money and we can help other people brand their business. And so that's how it started. It's very boutique because it's not my top priority. So I limit myself to 8 hours a week with any E3 clients or projects. So I call it a side hustle, but it's that sort of devalues it. It's still very important. It's just not my full-time job.
That's a great way of looking at something that you are doing when you have multiple spinning plates. Which one is the priority? So I know you have a very successful podcast called the Business and Leadership Podcast. Tell our audience about your show.
Yeah. So once again, the podcast was birthed out of a need. Just for the audience of this show, I don't think that I know it all. I kind of take it in stride. And so when more people ask me for help and ask me more questions, then I'm like, well, I'd love to help people and give them the answers that they're looking for. So the podcast came from people that A, can't afford to work with me as a consultant because that's not very realistic, especially for a lot of young people. And B, we still do every Wednesday. We have a leadership teaching in my office. And we sort of round robin teach different concepts that are around leadership. It could be totally different things, like how to take advantage of your 3-day vacation as a leader, right? Like checking out and all that fun stuff. Or it could be like how to implement creativity and organizational leadership. The topic could span. And so people would DM me or like message me and say, hey, how can I get this teaching? Like, can I come to these? And I'm like, well, that's weird. I don't know that I want strangers coming to our Wednesday meetings, like having to do some weird introduction with the staff and say, hey, this person DM'd me, you know? So I thought, well, what if I just came out with a podcast and put whatever I'm teaching on a podcast? Like if people don't like it, I guess that's okay. I mean, I spent a little bit of money to start it, spent a little bit of time recording it. But for the people that do want to hear it, I want them to have it, but I don't want them to come to our meetings. So I started the podcast. And then it sort of transformed into the structure is I put out one teaching a month that's under 20 minutes, practical, applicable. And then I've lucked out with a lot of great interviews. That wasn't the original intention, but my connections have expanded over the years. And so I leverage those to bring on people that know more and know different things than I do. And that's been a lot of fun.
That's great. Well, let's take a commercial break right here and we'll come back and learn more.
Sounds great.
This episode of The Floridaville is brought to you by Rocketship Consultants. Let us help you launch your career, your business, your podcast, or your live stream. Follow us on Facebook and on Instagram and visit our website at www.rocketshipconsultants.com. Welcome back. Well, I do a lot of research on our guests that come on to the show, and you were no exception. So I came across your Instagram, and it appears to me that you spend a lot of time at the gym and working out. So tell us how you have managed to balance your professional life and all the responsibilities that you have going on while still maintaining your physical fitness and health.
Yeah. It's like a 3-part answer for that. So in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey talks about putting first things first. So if you've read that book, this is a concept from that, but it's basically that step 1, you have to prioritize what's truly important in your life. And I think all of us would agree that money is not important. It's the product of money that's important, right? So I love health, and I think everybody should. I love to feel at my best. So my number 1 priority is my own health. So that will always be scheduled. Nothing will ever get in the way of me consistently moving my body and eating healthy, right? Like I always, if you travel or if you have delays, things are going to get in the way for 1 or 2 days, but I'm always going to consistently find a way to move my body and to eat healthy. But the practical way that I live a life of entrepreneurship and try to be a good friend and a good mentor and a person who works out for 2 hours every day is time management. And it seems basic, but most people in my experience are very bad at managing their time. The United States is technically time impoverished, which is where the large majority would say that they quote unquote don't have enough time. So anytime you don't have enough resources, you're impoverished of it. And the reason for that is because we don't manage it well. The one thing that has been consistent since the beginning of time until now is that there's 168 hours in a calendar week. You can make more money, you can get more friends, but you can't get more time. So I look at it very quantitatively, and I create a time budget. So most people, if you're responsible, you have a financial budget. You know how much you make a month, you know how much is going out. So then if you can buy some shoes or go on vacation. The same thing applies to our time, but we're not measuring it well. And so I know that there's 168 hours in my week. I'm going to work 45. I'm going to do E3 for 8. I'm going to sleep for 56. I'm going to read my Bible for 5. I'm going to, so I have it very allocated. And in that is, I think 14 hours of moving my body. I usually strength training or something, but I like to swim, run, ride my bike. And so number one, it's a priority, but number two, I put it in my time budget.
Do you also see that being physically fit is a way for you to market your company?
Sure. It was sort of a second-handed, a lot of people say, you must have to stay in shape to run this business. And my response is this business wouldn't be around if I wasn't in shape. I did a talk on mental health and nutrition, right? So I'm very passionate about what happens to our body and our brain when we feed it the right nutrients. And people can get the wrong perception of that, saying that you need to eat like me. Most people don't need to eat like a bodybuilder. I eat every 3 hours. I eat 5 times a day. That's not realistic for most people. And that's not what I preach and teach. I preach and teach balance. I think people should nourish their body. They should get adequate amount of calories to have healthy energy. They should get good sleep by not eating crap before bed, right? So there's a lot of practical stuff that I teach that I live an extreme version of it. But again, SuperFit Foods and who I am, they do coincide because everything in my life coincides with my values. And I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't take as good care of my body and my brain. So it is in unison for sure.
So we can see that you're a pretty buff guy. So we all want to know, were you always like this or were you scrawny growing up? Tell us.
Super scrawny growing up. I was born premature and I was small. I was the smallest kid in middle school, the smallest kid in high school. I got in 9th grade, I was 95 pounds. I think I was 4'9". I was smaller than almost every girl at high school, And then junior year, I grew 7 inches, which was very painful, but very encouraging. And so now I'm like 5'8.5", 5'9" with shoes. I'm 185 now, but I graduated high school at 5'7" and 135. My passion for fitness really kicked off midway through my senior year. I got in a lot of trouble. I used to be a pretty heavy pothead, and I sold weed for a living back then, and I got caught, and so that really redirected my passions from something clearly that wasn't going to take me where I needed to go. And then I couldn't smoke anymore, so my buddy invited me to the gym, and I literally haven't stopped going. I loved it. I loved the way it made me feel. And so by the time I was 21, I was about 200 pounds. So I hit the weights hard. And now I stay around 185 because it's a much healthier weight for me. But I got into bodybuilding, and then I did powerlifting and all that fun stuff.
So what was your childhood like? I mean, you talked about high school. Did you come from a close-knit family? Did you travel a lot? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Lakeland, Florida. I would say close-knit family is probably a picture that I wouldn't say is our family. We were close, but it wasn't a tradition. So I was raised by my dad. My mom was sort of out of the picture from maybe age 2 to age 12. So, a lot of those developmental years, just me, my dad, and my older brother, Josh. We were very poor. My dad is somewhat of a gypsy. He's great company, love the guy to death, but he's just not your 9-to-5 corporate guy. Very non-committal. So we bounced from place to place, apartment to apartment. We lived in hotels a lot, all throughout Lakeland. I went to 5 different elementary schools. I think 3 because I got kicked out and 2 because we moved. So I had a pretty tough childhood. I was pretty angry, and I was very small, so I had to compensate for that. So I was pretty aggressive. And, we were raised in a low income neighborhood, so I was an outlier. I was usually the only white kid in the whole neighborhood, So kind of a tough upbringing. Middle school, high school became a little more traditional as I gained like a more balanced level of friends from the other side of the track, friends that are still on my side of the track. People are playing sports, and, you kind of find your culture and your group. So things sort of normalized, but I've always been very social. So I've always been part of many groups, many different people groups, especially coming from, the ghetto really. And so, and I'm really big into, I like to learn, right? So I was, in all the like high level academics in middle school, high school. And then, so, that's kind of a narrative of my upbringing. If that answers your question.
Yeah. So I think you had earlier said that you got involved in fitness around 1819. What are some of the credentials and education that you got towards fitness?
So, yeah, I'm a NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine certified personal trainer. I'm a NASM certified corrective exercise specialist. I'm a NASM certified behavioral change specialist. I'm a NASM certified nutrition specialist. And NASM is one of the highest accredited personal training certifications that you can get in the industry, just short of maybe getting an exercise physiology degree. Um, and I have an associate's in business, and I'm pursuing an undergrad in marketing and psychology right now. I've been taking one class a semester for the past 5 years. So I'm 11-year junior in college right now. And I'm sure I have some other random certifications along the way from all my experience in sales and stuff like that.
That's incredible. I know a lot of people struggle with keeping fit. What advice do you have for them? I know you talked about time and priority. Is there any other advice that you have for them?
Yeah. Set low expectations. What I mean by that is you know what you're capable of. And imagine, most people when they get on a fitness kick, they say, I'm going to throw all the bad food out. I'm going to eat healthy 3 times a day, every day from here on out. And I'm going to the gym 5 days a week for an hour. And that's just unrealistic. Like that's hard for me sometimes. And it's my life. So what if people said, I'm going to cut back on fast food. I'm going to eat more whole foods, and I'm going to go to the gym for 15 minutes a day, 3 days a week. If people said that, started that, and did that, you'd see a radical change over time. So we set these high expectations, and then when we don't meet them, we fall all the way to the bottom instead of finding a happy medium, right? So if you just set the bar low, which sounds really counterintuitive to most inspirational speakers and fitness coaches and stuff. But if you say, I'm going to work out for 15 minutes a day, anybody can do that for 15 minutes. What does that mean? Maybe go power walk, maybe do some calisthenics, or maybe go to the gym. Like whatever it is, if you get moving and if you cut back on your unhealthy eating, you're going to save money. You're going to have more time. You're going to sleep better. You're going to feel better, and you're going to look better. And so over time, maybe now you've got 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes for the gym. And maybe now you cut out fast food altogether because you took those incremental steps and you made a habit out of it. That's really the key. The short-term answer is make it a habit. But that is, again, is a very big goal. To start small, low expectations over time.
So I work with a lot of clients that are paralyzed in making the next step in their career or their business, and you seem to keep moving forward in both. So what do you do to keep yourself motivated and inspired?
Yeah. Sort of, again, like a 3-part answer. The first thing is I recognize the importance of growth in my life. I say that because as a consultant, a leader, a mentor, I'm blown away sometimes when people don't realize that we are, I think, morally obligated to grow in this life. A lot of people just coast. And so when I talk about that, they're like, oh, I had no idea that I should be aiming for a better job this time next year. And I'm like, yeah, we have to grow, So the first thing is acknowledging the importance of growth. The second thing is setting goals. A lot of people won't set goals out of fear of failure. Again, it's that expectation thing. And you just have to. The reason why I accomplish anything that I do and will accomplish anything that I will is because it's most likely already set as a goal, or it's something that will be done as a catalyst of a goal that I've set. So first thing, acknowledge the importance of growth. The second thing is set goals. And the third thing is have people that hold you accountable. I'm an extrovert, so making friends is much easier for me than most people. If you're an introvert, find a couple other introverts with like-minded ambitions and values and tell them, hey, let's get dinner. I've got a group of guys that I get with once every quarter. We travel together for 3-4 days. We do goal setting. We review them. We do progress report. And we talk every week and say, hey, how's that thing? How are you doing with saving your money? How's your fitness goal? And so, number one, acknowledge the importance of growth. Number two, set goals. Number three, get accountability.
Those are great. Those are great. So I noticed in your social media channels, your mention of faith, and you've mentioned it here in the podcast today. What role does faith play in your life?
Faith is the foundation of anything good in my life. Like I said, my upbringing was a struggle. And there are millions of people with a tougher upbringing. So I just sort of put that chip on my own shoulder because of my expectations. Again, going back to that, right? I expected different things from my life early on. And I struggled a lot. And I still do as a Christian, but my struggle has a purpose now. And so when I was mature enough to accept that what I believe, which is that Christ died on the cross for us and that he was resurrected 3 days later, when I was mature enough to accept that there was somebody else in control of my life, it was a lot easier to lay it down and to live a life trying to fulfill somebody else's purpose for my life. Now, do I know exactly why God created me? No, I don't. I've never spoken with him audibly, but I know what sets my soul on fire. I know what I really, really like. And it's four things. It's love, it's fitness, it's leadership, and it's growth. So how can I pursue those things in light of what the Bible says? And so since I've been doing that, my life has looked radically different. First of all, you get in a lot less trouble when you pursue Christ. Like, even if you didn't even really believe, if you just kind of did what the Bible says, at least in the New Testament, you're going to get in a lot less trouble. People are probably going to like you more if you love God and love people, right? So the principles in the Bible inevitably lead to some form of success. And the Bible does also say that we'll face persecution for our beliefs, but that's a whole different conversation. So my faith has been a foundation for my success because I gave my life to Christ in January of 15. Then I felt comfortable enough to take the leap of faith to leave my corporate job, try to open a gym, and that failed. And then I fell into the opportunity to start SuperFit. And I said, I'm going to build this company on Christian principles. It's not a Christian company, but it's a company full of Christians. And so without my foundation in Christ, I would still be living day to day for myself, which no matter what you believe, a selfish way to live is not a successful way to live. And so for me, it's everything.
How can our audience get a hold of you and find SuperFit Foods?
SuperFitFoods.co, or you can check us out on Instagram at superfit_foods. You can find me at jaredgraybeal.com or Instagram at jaredaxlgraybeal.
So we like to end our podcast with a little bit of fun by asking everyone the same 7 questions. So what would people be surprised to know about you?
People would probably be surprised to know that most Friday and Saturday nights, I am drinking wine and reading a book.
When you have guests in town, where is your favorite place to take them?
Well, I live 50 feet from the beach, so the beach, but more private, a place called Southern Grounds, which is a coffee shop half a mile from me. And they sell wine all day and they sell coffee all day. So during the day, I'm drinking coffee there. And at night, I'm drinking wine there with my book. So, and they let my dog come inside. So anytime people come to town, we're going to Southern Grounds.
What's your dog's name?
Callie. Princess Callie.
What is the name of a book you recently read that you could not put down, or a show that you've binge watched?
I read a lot of great books, thankfully. And I'm reading one now that I can't put down called 10% Happier. But one that I loved, and this is not for everybody, but it's called You Must Be Joking, Mr. Feynman. And it's a self-written biography of Dr. Richard Feynman, who is a Nobel Prize winner, a globally renowned physicist. And he just lived a really interesting life. And I think it sort of can encourage you if you're a weirdo who spends his time drinking wine or reading books that, like, you could still have a lot of fun.
Among your close family and friends, what are you best known for?
Time management.
If you have a nickname, who gave it to you?
I had a lot of nicknames growing up. Some that I don't like that much. But one of the ones that I did like, I was a skateboarder when I was really young during that, edgy smoking weed season of my life. And it was really good. So I got to travel with a lot of people. And once people found out my middle name is Axel from Axl Rose, Guns N' Roses, they call me Baby Axel. And that catched on. And the girls liked that one. So I liked that one when I was younger.
If you knew you could not fail, what would you attempt?
To solve world hunger.
What are the top 3 things you love about living in Florida?
The sun. I guess the weather, I guess, is probably a better way. Fitness. Fitness is a big thing in Florida, probably because of our weather. And the food.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Jared, speaking with you today. Thank you for appearing on our show.
Thanks for having me.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast channel on YouTube and all of your favorite podcast listening platforms. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Visit our website to see some extras on Jared and get his contact information. Our live stream director for this episode and the audio editor for this podcast episode is Joy Tootle with Rocketship Consultants. If you are interested in starting a live stream or podcast, contact Joy at joy@rocketshipconsultants.com.